video we will see how we can actually delay API calls from our front end. So a very simple use case scenario would be, let's say if I type in something, then I get the results corresponding to that particular keyword that I've used. And the first thing that comes to mind is basically having this word, whatever search keyword is there, and whenever the word changes, then make an API call, fetch the results, and get the response and display it to the user. But everything is fine here, but the problem is when, let's say, user is trying to search for a bigger word. Like, let's say if I want to try and search for silence, just see what happens. So I'll just click on this and I'll try to search it like this. In this case, you will see there are so many API calls that happened just for one single word. And in these cases only we want to not directly use it like this, because in this way, for every on change trigger, it will try to get and see all these words one by one. And that is what we will be seeing how we can address this issue. This basically what we will be doing is, here we will have this silent whenever the word is changing. In those cases we will try to wait and until we reach the last element, like until the user stops to edit the word. We will wait and have a delay of 500 milliseconds, which is equal to half second. And once that is done, after that we will move on to the next one, and then only we will make the API request. Okay, so let's see how it is done. So currently you can see that whenever the word changes, we are triggering the API call. We are searching. There is an API that I've created which looks something like this. So whatever word, like let's say if I put in S A something like this, then I'll get all the keywords related to this type of word. So that is all is happening here. So now what we need to do is, we need to create another variable. Let's name it as update delayed change, something like that. And let's keep it like this, and let's have another use effect. And here we will again trigger this. This would be triggered on change of the value. Okay, and what we will do is, we will say timeout equal to set timeout. So I hope you know what set timeout does. Let's take a 500 millisecond gap. So what we are doing is, we will be executing this whole arrow function after 500 seconds. Okay, and what we need to do is, we want to set delayed change to value. Okay, whatever the value is now. And in case if the component unmounts or the change is not complete, then we will have a return statement where we will just clear timeout with the timeout that we are passing in. Okay, so what does this use effect do is that it will update the delayed change value every 500 milliseconds. So we can make it 1000 milliseconds also. Like, let's say if the user is, assuming that user is typing a little bit slow, we can wait for 1 second. And what this does is, like, let's say if the user is typing silence, so they will be typing all of this in one go. So assuming that the difference between two characters, like silence, if I'm typing silence, so no SI or IL, difference between these two words won't go beyond 1 second. That is the assumption here, which is a fair assumption, I would say. So based on this, delayed change will happen. And once this delayed change happens, if for some reason the user keeps on typing again, so in that case it will go to this unmount condition. So we will clear the timeout for the previous one, for the previous operation. So let's say this was before this process got complete, before this 1000 second, the user again changed it, so the new timeout will set up. So that is the only purpose of this. And whatever we did here, instead of this, now we can use delayed change. everything would be same, just that now we want to trigger an API call only in case of delayed change. Okay, now if I save it and go back, and let me try to remove this and refresh the page, and let's say I type in let's say tab. So once I type the whole word, then only you see that this API call is happening. So if I go for the silence, so if I type in silence, so you can see that once I type in the whole word, only then API call happens. So this is very straightforward concept, and I hope you got what exactly we are doing here. I will just repeat it once again so you get a crystal clear idea what is happening. So what we are doing is, we have an API call that is happening. Earlier it used to be on every set value, every trigger of the value change that happened when user typed in the input. What we are doing is, we created a delayed change variable which we want to trigger after every 1000 milliseconds or 1 second. Actually we can make it 500 milliseconds, that would be pretty faster. So let's say if I do it like this, so now it is let me just clear it up and let me type in. So now you can see the response is a little bit faster, which is fine. I think for me also the ideal case is 500 seconds. So what this does is, after every 500 milliseconds of the user's typing, that is whenever user types, right, the last character right after that, it will wait for 500 milliseconds, and then it will make an API request to the backend. Okay, so that's what it is about, and that is how it will wait for that call to complete. And once that call is complete, after that it will clear the timeout will wait for 1000 seconds. By default it will be 500 seconds. If it has not been completed yet, then it will wait again, and if it has been completed, then it will update the set delayed change value. And then that delayed change, once that is changed, then this use effect will trigger only when this value is changed. Please note that it won't be affected by value, but only with this delayed change, which will only complete after the user stops typing. Then API call will happen, it will call the API with the same, everything would be same, get the results and update the data. So that is what this particular one is about. I mean, that's what the idea is about this one. I hope you got this, and this could be very useful in lot of cases, delaying the API response, when let's say you are trying to find. And generally it is helpful in forms, like when you're filling state details, address, etc. Then you type in some value, and let's say you want to detect the city automatically by the state. In those cases also, this is a very useful concept. So I hope you understood this completely now. I hope this video was useful for you.